Greetings and welcome to Keeping Up with the Adventurers, Episode 2. Today we'll be going over some of the happenings of the latest Town Hall and some Discord shenanigans. First off, we've got some news on The Crypt. The Crypt is a series of dungeons that can be raided by loot holders. Chapter 1 of The Crypt was released last month to a huge success. The community got behind and rallied this project. The team was actually very surprised as they had been worried that the dungeons would actually not be raided. Instead, the dungeons were raided within a matter of 15 minutes. And this was actually an issue as many people missed the dungeons simply because they were sleeping, time zones and all. The crypt has been very well received. Loot holders are actually forming guilds and raiding parties in order to raid these dungeons and be the first to get the rewards. First come, first serve, and it's also important to know that the team is working on something even more ambitious. Part 2, which they refer to as the main game. I, for one, cannot wait. And next we have Hyperloot. The Hyperloot mint date has been pushed back as the team is polishing their website, fixing a few graphical errors, and making sure that their contract is flawless. I'd say that this is no big deal as the community is still very hyped and waiting patiently for Hyperloot. Hyperloot, after all, is still a very qualified and fully doxed team. That being said, Hyperloot mint date when? Devs, please do something. During this episode, Dark Lord Grug went over some of the happenings of the realms. Also, Dark Lord Grug has started a guild, as I mentioned before. You can find this guild in Grug's Lair. Grug's Lair is actually not exclusively a lootverse project, but it is very loot adjacent, as a lot of the members of the Grug's Lair Discord are actually loot and realms holders. Grug's Lair recently produced an NFT, Grugs, which has a solid roadmap and tokenomics plans, and it's just a very good community to be in, especially if you're in loot. So far, 75% of Grugs have been minted. One mint is 0.1 Ethereum. Don't miss out, or else. Now, onwards to Crypts and Caverns. Working in the Brick Builder, that is a development tool that's on alpha on Starknet. Starknet is the wonderful L2 embraced by the Realms and Crypts and Caverns project. Discord user at Rivelo created a 3D version of Kiv's Sound. Kiv's Sound is Crypts and Caverns number 6847. This is just a demo of what we can do on Starknet. Inspired by the Realms Atlas, which allows us to visualize our crypts and caverns and eventually loot bags in Genesis Adventurers, Discord user at Mescalito put digital pen to paper and wrote this lore for the Morbid Fire Keep. The Morbid Keep of Fire sits in an inhospitable landscape atop a crumbling ridge overlooking Sirens Valley, shrouded in the fog that rolls across the decaying continent inhabited by the Order of Vitrol. In the dim light of day, the keep glows eerily in the mist, but at night, tongues of flame can be seen writing in its high vaulted windows and towers. Like an obscene and twisted candelabrum, it has burned since the curse was placed on this land by the Order of Perfection, ending the 100-year war. Some claim the fire's otherworldly in origin, an arcane flame constructed by the Order of Vitriol that can burn for eternity without need of air. Others say that when the keep was stacked and set ablaze, the wind spread the fires into the mines nearby, igniting unmined coal seams and spreading beneath the earth. The keep was known to have an elaborate system of dungeons and tunnels. Just how deep, no one really knew. But the fires prove that there's more that lies under the surface. Rumors have spread across the realms, such as rivers of molten gold and alchemical silver that flow in the deepest caverns below the keep. As of late, there have been days when the keep's flames have appeared to momentarily cease. leading prospectors to believe it may be possible to explore its scorched halls and blackened depths, at least before the fires reignite. And as for the former lord that once called this place home, many point to the whispering necropolis of the apocalypse that lies to the east, though none dare to say such things out loud. Miss Calito has offered to write similar lore for any Crypts and Caverns holder. You can find him in the CNC Discord in the lore channel. Onwards, Timcell recently announced the official launch of the Loot Foundation. Loot Foundation is the basis for world building in the Lootverse. The Lootverse is building something akin to Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, and there is a gigantic scope of creativity which can be built upon. However, the goal is to build all of this within a cohesive universe that exists on-chain. And that's why the Loot Foundation exists. It outlines things such as the timelines and eras, the levels, the orders. There are even things such as the Greatness Score, which is essentially a level system. All of these things exist on-chain in the original contracts. The loot contracts, the realms contracts, the CNC contracts, and these are the basis. And all of this is found on Loot Foundation. Check it out. Remember, we are the community and we are building and just telling the story of this gigantic universe. It belongs to all of us. Also, a new Lootverse utility contract was released, lootstats.sol. To quote the GitHub page, this is a Lootverse utility contract to classify loot bags, more loot bags, and Genesis loot bags. This contract helps us create that cohesive Lootverse world, but more on the blockchain side of things. And next on the list, we have the Genesis project. What's new is we can now retrieve lost items for our Genesis adventurers. And we can find those lost items using A-Time, which each Genesis adventure gets 20,000 A-Time. However, when buying a GA from OpenSea, you have to be aware that the A-Time may already have been claimed, and GAs can only claim their 20,000 A-Time once. Now, the reason this is important is it allows you to have much more leeway, much more choice when making your GA. For example, Lord of a Few managed to create the first full reflection Maid's bag. Right now, in order to claim your lost items, you have to interact with the contract. Soon the website will be updated in order to make this in the form of a DApp. And now the Genesis Adventurers also have a very good leaderboard. So now we can organize the bags and you can see what the best bags are. No more having to use icky spreadsheets. And now, finally, we have Loot for Loot. Basically, we now have music for the Lootverse. Bowtied Indigo is creating the world of Loot. That's L-U-T-E, and it's set in the Lootverse. What he's going for is he's going for creation in another direction. He's creating music and then creating lore. Usually lore and cinematics and etc. are created and then music is created for that. But given the massive amount of creative freedom that we have, he wants to try and do it the other way. And what he has so far is really, really interesting. I won't actually play the music because it's in NFT format, obviously, and that would be the equivalent of right-clicking and saving your profile pic, which, yes, I have done in the past. That's all for now, folks. Hope you liked this recap of recent events and the Town Square number 14, which happened on the 3rd of March. See you next time.